Ashford has a damn problem. Namely, that we don't have one. We've got a small weir structure to hold water during a drought so our crops don't dry up, but while this helps us during periods of low water flow, it does nothing for us during a bad tide. But that's not the only problem we need a dam to solve. We also have a second source of bad water that's perpetually flowing into our irrigated river. While it's not enough to kill our crops, we may as well take the opportunity to eliminate a potential source of contamination from our colony. Today, we'll solve both issues. On the Badwater stream, a simple log dam will do the trick. Upstream, we'll have to implement something a little more sophisticated. In doing so, we'll make use of the Emberpelts flat-topped floodgates, which combine the control of a floodgate with the ability to put a path on top of it-ness of a regular dam. But since I don't want to babysit this structure every time the weather changes, we'll also make use of a simple bit of automation, so that our floodgate will automatically adjust to expel bad water without our input. So let's get started while keeping our picky beavers dry on our very first Emberpelts dam. Hello, and welcome back to Ashford and the Emberpelt Modders Survival Guide. Today, we need to fix our problems. And those problems are all from dams. Or lack thereof, really. We need a dam up here. That is going to be our biggest problem currently. As we saw with the bad tide last episode, it just goes through here and kills a bunch of our crops. And we want our crops to live, believe it or not, in Timberborn. So we need to solve that issue. We also are going to eliminate or redirect this flow, because right now it flows right into our river that cuts through the colony, and that's just not going to work. I've never really talked about it in basically anything because I haven't had a reason to. The bad water that is in here is going to be impacting the irrigability, if that's a word, of this water. So if this was pure water, the irrigated land would extend further up this ridge and also further out here. I would ignore that. So we kind of want to eliminate this bad water. It's doing nothing for us. If it was generating power, there might be a reason to keep it a little longer, but it's literally just causing problems, so we're going to get rid of it. And so this dam is going to be what we focus on first, other than I do want to come over here and get them to eliminate these berry bushes. But with that task queued, let's move to building our first dam. And so for our Badtide Dam here, this one is going to ostensibly be the simplest dam we do today. The one over here is going to need levees and logic to function. This one is literally just going to be a 2-high wall that redirects the water from down here to up here and out this way, I believe, on the map. So first we need to get our beavers over here. Unfortunately, we have built these stairs on this side, but it's not going to do us any good to get the beavers actually up here. We are just going to build a new set of stairs up here, and then I will eventually just unlock levees for 120 science points, 12 logs, and I will go ahead and end up making the levees like that, but that will just overflow the way it currently is. We have a blockage over here, so I'm going to eliminate that levee. And then, ooh, I don't have double platforms unlocked. So I'm going to unlock double platforms, 150 science points, 4 logs, 4 planks. Use those to get over here. And then we will have our beavers preemptively, I guess not preemptively, we have to do it for this to work, get rid of this blockage. Now I think it's resources, there we go. So they should work on all of that. And then we can finish off the levee. And actually I guess I can preemptively put the levee here as long as I make it a lower priority than the rest of the structure here. And I guess while I'm having our beavers build towards the future here, I should also just go ahead and get set up, or kind of set up, because I'm using one of these platforms that I'll need, our Badwater pump. This is going to be the closest point to Badwater in our colony. We could put one up here, but it's a longer path. So once this is done, we are going to situate a Badwater pump right there. I'll go ahead and unlock that preemptively, and then I will build the platforms we will need, and also a medium tank to store bad water. So we will just have a beaver up here pumping bad water, and then we will make use of that later on, probably in the next episode or the episode afterward. And I do just want to point out, because I realize I never show the priority I set here. These are set to highest priority. This is set to lower priority. They should eliminate these blockages, build platforms and tank, and then finish up with this last dam segment. So that is the way I was having them plan out building this. And then all of the bushes over here are even lower priority. And then since they are working on the dam here, I'm going to eliminate this path because we don't need it anymore. And we will put a path up here if they do need it in the future. And then we will place down our bad water pumping station. And we will adjust the priority here to just be normal priority. So it should have a higher priority than this because this was placed first. And then we will let them finish building. And there we go. They will continue hammering away at this bad water pump, but our levee dam is in. Our bad water is now flowing over this way and off of the map. And our river through the colony is remarkably cleaner. We can see that that has unlocked more fertile land here. And again, I don't actually know how much it's unlocked over here. I'm guessing right about there, but this is filled with floodwaters currently. We will probably use that to irrigate land later on, but not right now. So, everything clean, simple here. It's time to move on to the less clean and less simple part of the episode. So what we're going to do now is, in theory, simple. We're going to dam off a bit of this area up here so that we can redirect water automatically during a bad tide, which is going to be a bit more complicated than it sounds. It is going to require automation. It is going to require a new structure that is unique to the Emberpelts here. And of course, as we know with 1.0, it is going to cause issues downstream, particularly if we continue to use the dams that we have currently been using. We are going to end up starting up here and make our way down here once we actually have some of the structure in place. So the new thing we're going to be making use of, if we come down here to landscaping, we have our traditional floodgates that we can build that will stop water. We can control them. We can automate them. They're exactly the way that you know and love floodgates working. However, we have a second option with the Emberpelts that is going to be these flat top floodgates. These are essentially the exact same as the other floodgates, except beavers can walk on them. So we will not have to create, for example, a path of platforms. They can just walk on top of the one high floodgate. It functions as a floodgate otherwise, but as we will see from the UI down here, the flat top floodgate is going to be 500 science points, 6 logs, 5 planks, and 4 metal blocks. The regular floodgate is going to be just 150 science points, 10 logs, and 5 planks. So it is quite a bit more resource and research intensive, but a lot better for what we are going to be doing today, which is going to be building something we need to walk on top of. One thing I will want to do, knowing that planks and gears are going to be necessary up here, I am going to build us 2 small industrial piles. 1 for planks, 1 for gears. Nope, not gears. What am I saying? Metal blocks. Had the right building, just the wrong inventory. Then I'm going to pause this lumberjack flag up here. We will continue to make use of it to get these trees up here, but I'm going to end up deleting these platforms so that we can build our dam. Now, if I am being honest here, this is going to be just a little rinky-dinky dam. Eventually, I will come back up here. I will dynamite a bunch of this stuff out and make a dam that is worthy of being called a reservoir and also actually will look good. But for now, I do not need that. I just need a dam that maybe stores a tiny bit of water and then can let our bad water out. So I will begin by planning out where the bad water is going to go, which is going to be just over the edge here and down this little outflow, which has the rest of the bad water. To do that, I'm going to pause. I'm going to need levees, obviously. So we will come with our levees over to here, and then I will just plan out something along the lines of that. We will cut 5 of these levees out of here. I will say from there. And then we will build a barrier so that the bad water doesn't flow back over here. Of course, the same thing will happen down in this area if we don't also anticipate that. So we will put some more levees here. We will just have to get all the stuff down here later. Ooh, I'm spinning because I pressed Z because I've been playing too much Whiskerwood. So one day we may want to get that down there, but for now it will just have to be flooded. This we will need stairs to so that our beavers can build. And then here we will unlock our flat top floodgate. 500 science points. We still have some left over. We will build those. And then our beavers will need a staircase up here to walk. So when a bad tide hits, we can open this up. It will flow out this way. This levee should do the heavy lifting of keeping it from infecting the rest of our colony and just flow out down here. Next is going to be the simple part of this dam, which is going to be the part that is only going to store water. We will do 2 high floodgates for this. We will put them right there. And then we will go back to levees. And then as always with the Emberpelts, keeping our beavers dry is going to be a priority. So I'm going to want our beavers to be able to get over here without going into the water. I will eliminate all of the paths and stairs there, and then I will just drag these levees over to here. We can then do something like that and let our beavers go. Now, one thing I do want to do is I want to make sure that they build these levees before the rest of them, because that will mean that they don't get stuck here. So I will let them continue to build the rest of this, and then I will return for the consequences of this decision. A drought is approaching. That will be fine. We do not need to worry about our beavers during a drought while doing this project. Honestly, it might be a tiny bit better because we don't have to worry about them getting wet either. And there we go. Our wrinkly dinkly dam is complete. We will be able to open these floodgates during a bad tide, close these ones, have all that water flow out this way, and not have to worry about it. It will not store a ton of water in most cases, but it does store a decent amount if we need to let any out during a drought, which, as we are seeing, will still kill our beets and things. So that is something we should worry about. And our drought is over, which means that we can finally showcase how this will work. If I move this height up to 1.65, we will see that this bit, which is our bad water outflow, if it is open, water will spill over, but it will not spill this way. It will all be contained over here. So we will not have to worry about bad tides wreaking havoc through our current encampment. However, what we will have to worry about, as we do in almost every 1.0 colony, as this water spills over, we are going to get that rubber banding. Now, usually, this is not a huge deal, because the rubber banding will flood crops a little bit. They'll turn yellow for a minute, and then they will go back to what they were doing. But as we see right here, we're playing Emberpelts. That means that when a flood happens, it is getting all of our beavers very wet and making them very unhappy. Now, I could, of course, dam up the river so that we don't have to worry about that. But that is, of course, not the best option here. We know from past colonies that if we just eliminate these water control structures, we will let out enough water really to alleviate that rubber banding there. At least in general. There might still be some when the drought initially ends. So we will need to come up with another solution, and quickly, because I accidentally stranded a beaver over here when I destroyed that bridge. And as you may expect, we actually have one easily accessible. It is going to be this flat top floodgate. So we will just build one right here as we did before. But since the problem that we are facing is these bits of the river holding too much water when that rubber banding is happening, we will just set this flat top floodgate to 0. Now, this will mean that during a temperate season, we don't need to worry about the flooding, or at least we don't need to as much. It might still flood a little bit, and we will see that once the next season change happens. But at the very least, it should sort itself out fairly quickly, and we will still be able to get across this section of the river the same way we were able to before. And then, of course, once a bad tide or a drought hits, we can have this go up to not 80, 65 probably, the same our dam was before, and it'll hold water here. We will then repeat that same process for right here and right here with 0 height flat top floodgates. And while they're working on those, I'm also noticing that we are once again running out of beds. We will just expand our building here with our lodges. Now, this is going to have to change at some point because it looks awful. Maybe that'll be next episode. I don't know. We are kind of desperately in need of some cleanup over here and probably over here. And all of our dam structures are now complete, which is all fine and good, except I still need to manually adjust these things. And now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I don't know why I had to count it like that. Now that is something I could do, but it's also something I don't want to do. So instead, I'm going to take advantage of what is obviously my favorite feature of 1.0 and automate this dam. So automating this is going to be rather simple. We're just going to need three of the automation technologies, we are going to need the contamination sensor for up here. I'm going to put that right in front of these floodgates. We will do a contamination sensor. That'll be set to a threshold of, we'll do 2%. Then we will hold off on automating that for a second here. So this contamination sensor on means contamination, off means no contamination. We will automate these floodgates to it, and that will be what we want. These ones we will automate, and on will be open. So that should take care of our bad tide problem. We can then move on. We need a weather sensor. Weather station is going to be a bit different for the Emberpelts. It is going to be bricks instead of whatever it is for the other ones. Since it's bricks, I'm guessing it is going to be metal parts and paper for the other two factions. This we will set to temperate weather. So this will just give us an idea whether it is a temperate weather season. And then we will have these floodgates set up to the temperate weather season. Now, on is going to be that it is temperate weather. We want that to be down to 0. Off is going to be anything that is not temperate weather, and we are going to set that to 1. However, right now, because it is not built, it is currently set to off, so we're going to keep that at 0 as well. We have a drought approaching. That is fine. We will see these activate when that drought hits. As long as I do copy their configuration and paste them onto the rest of these. These all just need to do the exact same thing. They need to go up when the weather is not temperate and go back down when it is. And then the last bit of automation is going to be depth sensors. Now these I'm going to set up on each level to detect the depth that we are facing. So we'll do one there, and then we'll do a depth sensor there. And then our third one can be right here. Now all of these depth sensors are going to work essentially the same way. I want them to be less than, and I'm going to make them 0.9. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to automate all of these jobs that are right by this area that floods to this depth sensor. So essentially what that will do, or the hope is that what that will do is that if this area is flooding, these beavers will no longer be trying to go to their jobs, and so they will not get wet fur. That is the theory anyway. We can then once again copy the configuration for this to this relay and this sensor. That is a sensor, not a relay. This sensor, all we actually need to automate is this farm. So that will be on if the depth here is low. If it gets too high, that'll turn off. And this farm actually needs to be automated to both. So I will also put down a relay. I will set it up behind this. I will make it and make it both of these depth sensors. And we can see that all of our floodgates have closed, which means that they should hold water at least somewhat. We will have to come up with a solution to get water to move down here gradually, which will be different automation, obviously. But for now, that'll just hold an itty bit of water, and I can manually move this if I need to. We will automate this farmhouse to this relay. So this farmhouse will only work if this area and this area are not flooding, because it pulls from both. This one only pulls from the one up here and the one up here. And this really doesn't flood, honestly. Now, there is one more automation I have to take care of here. While our farmhouses will let the beavers off the hook while this area is flooding, we still have a bunch of storehouses down here that are storing things. Some of this, like grilled corn, our beavers will go down and get, even if it is flooding. For that reason, I'm actually going to get rid of all of the food that is down here, and I'm going to rebuild it up here where it doesn't flood. So with those rebuilding, that'll solve a little bit of my worry here. However, our haulers will still try to get down here. Now I could make an and for all of these to turn off haulers when they should not be going down here. But honestly, I don't want haulers not working whenever any of this is flooding. I just want them not to come down here when it is. For that, we're going to use another one of the 1.0 structures. We're going to use the gate. This is going to be 6 planks, 4 gears, 4 scrap metal, 200 science points. I've not used these in a Timberborn video yet either. So just to illustrate what they do, get rid of that path, can replace it with a gate. I can then automate the gate to, say, this depth sensor. The gate then will be open when the sensor is on. It will be off if the sensor is off. If the gate is open, beavers can move through it as if it is a normal path. If it is closed, they cannot. They can still, I believe, move through it if they are building, or of course, if they are cut off, they can move back through the gate. It does not prevent movement that way. But it will prevent haulers from coming down here, for example, when this is off. We can, in the process of reclaiming some of this, also set up a gate here that we can automate to this depth sensor. We will let them build that stuff before we go any further. We will also delete this path, copy this gate. And a lot of these are drying up, so let's let out a bit of water here. Whoa, big flood. Whoops. Well, we get to see how that works, though, because despite my constant mistakes, we're not getting wet fur beavers. So the plan seems to be working. The drought is over, and we will see that we will get a tiny bit of flickering here. And we have a single beaver that ended up getting wet fur. I wonder why that is. Oh, these are both set to open. That is my issue. They should be set to 3. Okay, so that should prevent that in the future. And we can also automate this to sensor 1. So with all of those sensors and logic and gates in place, what we should see is if I let out some extra water for a second here. And so with all that in place, what we should see is the water rushes down here, is that nothing is staying open in a way that lets beavers get wet fur. Perfect. And just for giggles, let's also really drop this down. Oop, not that much, because that's violating the idea. So let's see. That one's going to get wet fur coming home. Other than that, these are all turning off and being cut off in a way that we only got 2 beavers with wet fur, and it was only a tiny little bit. One of them, except for that one that had to walk back through all the water, that one got a bit wet. But that is all to say, essentially, the system is working and keeping our beavers from being slightly uncomfortable, really, is the way to put that, I think. And with that, I think I'm going to leave it here. I kind of wish we had gotten a bad tide so that I could show off how this is going to work, but I don't really want to wait around for one. We have seen that the flood detection system will work. We have seen that this does not flood the rest of the colony. This obviously is working fine because it's all going out back here. So I am going to call that implementation a success. As always, if you've enjoyed and you want to see more episodes of the Emberpelt Modder Survival Guide, then please do consider subscribing. I also have a Discord where you can also get notifications and things if you don't want to rely on the YouTube algorithm. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm cognizant of the fact that you could have been doing anything. You chose to watch me play with some beavers for a little while, and I appreciate that. As we say in this series, Ashford burns brightly, and I'll see you next time.